everybody's attention. Hopefully everybody's been enjoying this conference this year. I want to introduce Chris Sheridan. Is Chris Sheridan construction?
Sheridan.
Sheridan construction.
Yes.
That's going to give us a presentation today. Hope everybody signed the list on the outside to make sure you get credit for it, as well as make sure you do your evaluation at the end of the presentation.
All right. Well, thank you. Let me go through all the gobbledygook. I don't know if I need to say anything about this or not, and since I don't know, I'm not going to do it. I have to get my clicker to work. Bear with me, I don't know why anymore. It seems to be just going backwards and forwards. Oh well. Y'all, I usually walk around, so this will be a little bit out of my cadence, so forgive me. The order of what we're going to talk about today, no, wait a minute. Y'all read all of that, so I'm going to skip that. And by the way, I have handouts that covers all of the written slides that you get. There are going to be 1 or 2 slides up here that are going to be hard to read, but they're handouts that you can get. There's a couple of links on the website. They were right outside the front door. There are a couple of links to a website that you won't be able to read from here. Don't worry about trying to copy them down or anything if you want. They're all in the handouts. But we're going to compare the 3. I'm not getting off to a technically good start today. We're going to compare the 3 main methods that we seem to be running into nowadays in construction, and that goes from hard bid to construction manager at risk, and then to design build work. So, and then we're going to talk about the ways that the owner ought to prepare for those methods. They really, as I started writing this program, they turn out to be pretty much the same way. And so these are the areas that we're going to be talking about as far as the preparation goes for what the owner needs to be doing. And this should answer very specifically the questions that were published as to what you're to get out of this course and that type of stuff. I want to give you a personal goal that I have in this course, is that I really do want to try to give y'all an insider's view. Obviously, I'm a contractor, so obviously my insider's view is a little bit on the prejudice side. I can't help that. I'm going to try my darndest not to let any. I want you to ask me any pointed question that you want to ask, and I'm doing my level best to answer. I want to be a friend, and the only agenda that I have is that I want to help y'all work through your projects. Now, why is all of that? My background is that my great-great-grandfather came over from Ireland in 1850, and his name was Chris Sheridan. That means something to me. I don't really know exactly a lot of the details about what he did. He was a stonemason, but he moved on in life. And he built this church, or had a hand in building this church. And I don't know what the position was that he had in the church, but I do know that if you see at the top of the screen, there are a bunch of SJs behind all of those names. That's where the priest was, and he's at the top of the pack, so he must have done something pretty good.
Go back to that picture. Can you go back to the picture?
I had the opportunity to remodel that church on the occasion of its 100th, or restore it. I'll get to that in a minute.
What's the name of it?
That's St. Joseph's Church in Macon, Georgia, and it is a phenomenal church. Now, Christopher Sheridan, I'm getting to the point of why I'm interested in trying to answer every one of your questions. He had a bunch of kids. He was a good Catholic. And those children had a lot of children. And if you folks think you were raised Catholic, these are some of my aunts and uncles. This is absolutely true, and that is my Uncle Ed. That's my Aunt Mary. She lives at Villa Mercy up in Baltimore, Maryland right now. This is Father Franklin and Dad, who is head of the physics department at Loyola and a great friend of mine. I mean, these folks influence me. I hear voices. So, I say all of that because I want this to be a conversation, and I truly do want y'all to ask anything that you possibly can ask. Now, here's some more background on me. The bottom line is I started working when I was 12 because I love the contracting business. I got an education. I'm active in the business community, and I'm active in the Diocese of Savannah. Our firm, over 68 years, it was started by my dad. These are the projects that we've done. My grandmother first entered the convent at Mount Sales Academy in Macon. She later got out, obviously, but she married a guy who said, I want to take care of the sisters. And so we've been associated with the Sisters of Mercy for a long number of years. Here are just some general thoughts that I thought I would share for what it's worth. The total cost of ownership of a building can be three and a half to 10 times the cost of the initial cost of construction. Those links right there are to, and again, they're on the handout. Those are links to some pretty doggone good articles from various national organizations that really go into details of that and talk about that. And I think that's an important point that everybody needs to learn as they zero in on how am I going to prepare to build my building, and how am I going to pick a delivery method and follow that process. Another general point of wisdom is you can control any two of the following things: price, quality, and schedule. And you can have any two that you want. You cannot have the third one unless something is really unusual and everything works out well. That is not to say that all three of them can't be satisfactory, but if you want, you're going to control any two of those. One other thing, I don't know how, we do a lot of higher ed work, so there have been a lot of people in the realm of academia that are excited about LEED. We are finding that LEED as an organization that measures sustainability is sort of, it costs too much money and it's too much of a pain in the neck, and the Georgia Board of Regents has just eliminated any sort of LEED requirement. That is not at all to say that sustainable construction is going by the wayside. Sustainable construction is here to stay, but there are other organizations, that provide that measuring device and help. But LEED as an organization, we're seeing, and hope I don't offend anybody, but we're seeing that not as important. And it can add to the reporting requirements can add to the cost of the construction. Separate from the design elements, they're sustainable that need to be there. Okay, let's talk about the characteristics of design build. Design bid build. And again, interrupt, throw out your comments, feel free to talk about it. An advantage of it is that it's familiar. One of the things we like about it as a contractor is that we pay attention to how our competition bids. We think we know how they bid, So if we see a job that we can go after, we'll go after it with a pretty good idea as to what we think our markup's going to be. And if we're low, we go to work. And if we're not low, we move on down the road. That's a pretty nice thing for a contractor, as opposed to negotiating forever and ever and maybe not getting the job. It's very simple to manage. And by the way, every one of these have advantages, and I would recommend them depending on every one of these methods of construction, depending on the circumstances of your job. You have to have a fully defined scope, and so where you have a fully defined scope, and where you have a good stable of contractors and or subcontractors within the community that y'all want to maybe use, it's a great way to build. I mean, it's simple and it's easy. The architect, separate from the owner, separate from the builder, is accountable to the owner. That can be a good thing or it can be a bad thing. It can lead to an adversarial relationship, which can be a problem. It can be, not necessarily, be the least expensive way to build. If you have a bad set of plans, a contractor can smell a bad set of plans a mile away, and if they want to, they can say, change over there. And then it's not the cheapest way to build. It might appear to be at the first, but by the time the job's over, it's not the least expensive way to build. But just as much it can be. Y'all, I'm sorry I've got allergies or something, but please put up with them. If you, it's the best way to get the maximum number of contractors to look at the work. Let's say you've got several people in your diocese or in your parish, and you want them all to bid. This is a good, fair way to do it. Nobody will get the feelings hurt. You know, I had the low price, I got it. I didn't have the low price, okay, I move on. It is a linear process relative to time and schedule. So it, you know, one step has to happen before the next step. You can't have too many parallel steps, so that can slow the job down. The price is not established until the bid day comes out, so you don't really know if you're within budget or not. If you're not within budget, that's an issue. Quality can be hard to control. If you put the thing out for bid and you let the world bid it, then you may get an unqualified contractor and you may get problems on your hand. If you have a selected group of contractors and you're comfortable with all of them, then that really isn't going to be an issue.
But isn't the builder bringing his group of contractors to you? I mean, on the design build, doesn't he have, you know, if you have the architect and the builder? Design bid.
Yeah. So this is where you just let the world, the architect draws the plans, he puts it out for bid, whoever wants to bid it, bids it. Or you can select and say, I'm going to let the parishioners, we've got 3 good contractors, I'm going to let them bid it, or any kind of way you want to qualify it, you can. But if you let the world bid it, then no telling what you're going to get in the way of quality.
But like if you have a tight spec, but the architect has written something that is a tight spec, then theoretically you're in control because the architect said that doesn't meet what he did. What I wrote and what he gave you is not the same.
That works great on paper, but it can be problematic. If you've got a bad mason and he doesn't, and you spec the best flashing in the world, and he doesn't put it in right, you're going to have a hell of a hard time finding that leak because you know the water travels sideways on that flashing or something. And,
that's just going to happen. I mean, it could happen any which way.
yes, it could.
But the architect drew something that's very straightforward that most anybody could be able to do it. And it's not that difficult. The architect draws it so far.
There's no such thing as a complete set of plans.
Correct.
That's the problem. And if an architect tells you it's 100% complete, then you really have some work.
Right.
Am I right?
I hear what you say, but I will just tell you from my experience,
Yeah.
if you don't, if you don't have a good, the reason the state of Georgia has gotten away from much of the hard bid work is because they've just had sorry contractors, and or too many of them.
So,
Well, in a hard bid situation, the general contractor is the only one you look to,
right.
and he controls his sub.
So you're saying you've had a lot of heartburn with that in Georgia?
Say that
You've
again?
had a lot of heartburn with that in Georgia?
I'm sorry.
You've had a lot of heartburn with that, with the builder?
Well, I'm a contractor, so I kind of enjoy watching somebody else suffer.
So I call you to clean it up later.
That's right, but you know, you just have to kind of, everybody in here has an opinion based on their experience, but, yes.
Well, that's a public bid situation with the state of Georgia, whereas in a private owner situation, you select your star contractors to bid a job.
That's right.
And that's why you can do it this way, where
Right.
you use qualified subs.
Right.
And this can handle a lot of issues, it really can. And so when you, for other reasons, want to use hard bid, and there are a lot of good reasons to do it, this would be my suggestion. Use qualified subs wherever you can. I'm gonna move on to the next method. All right, I see shaking heads. All right, construction management at risk. This is where the contractor is selected based on qualifications and not based on the low price. You're going to hear me argue about this because I go back to that first thing I told y'all, that if the difference in price in this method is based on the fee, and that's a pretty small percentage of the cost of the work, but that's you know, my prejudice. The contractor provides pre-construction services at some level. This is important because as we have moved into the idea over the last, say, 10 years of construction management, precisely what pre-construction services means is not very well defined. And so to one contractor, it might mean I'm going to give you a budget at SD. I might give you one at CD, concept. I'll give you something which you don't know what something means. I mean, did he take out a means book and do something right quick or what? At SDs, and you may get an 80% budget, and some CMs might give you a guaranteed max at 80%, but they may not give you one until 100%. The value of all of that varies a good bit, and it's not well defined, and I'm gonna, hopefully we can spend some time talking about that if y'all want to, because I think that makes a huge difference. Continuous budget control is possible. I know in our company we will give a budget at the napkin stage and follow that budget all the way through. And the main thing that changes is the contingency gets smaller and smaller as we go along the way, yes.
That's also true of the other method, as long as you're using the estimating process.
In hard bid,
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm not really experienced at answering that. You know, if you, so I don't have real good experience with professional estimating services, but it should be.
Our experience has been that using professional estimators, the budget is, we get better numbers than when we hire contractors to do it. I don't know why that is, but we usually see this enormous jump between one estimate and the other when we use this method. And when we use estimates, it stays pretty much at the budget. So I don't know why. I mean, I might get with you, but that's been our experience.
I can see that. First of all, contractors, their main business is not estimating. So even if they charge you a reasonable fee, they aren't making money doing that. They're just kind of treading water at best. A professional estimator, you pay him to do it, and you demand good service, and he ought to give you that. And there's so many contractors that will say, yes, I'll help you out, and they give you a pretty quick and dirty square foot number that doesn't